And two teams who have fallen foul of that are McLaren and Mercedes. I have to say that very, very carefully now. One is a McLaren Mercedes, but we saw them both falter a little bit. Maybe it was just due to the Ferrari's outstanding performance, but I think it's kind of clear to see, at least, Red Bull had that sort of redemption of being at least able, in the sprint at least, to for Verstappen to sort of not run away with it, but clearly quite clearly control that race for the entire length of it. Obviously the squabbling changed that a little bit in the Grand Prix, but McLaren not. But it looks like after the 4 week break, it sort of changed them a little bit, and again, Mercedes looks to be slightly more promising, but again fell backwards. Do you think they can turn that around in in Mexico? Obviously, it's a very flat track, very high altitude track, which means you can run a lot of downforce without the penalty of so much drag. Obviously, that there is still that drag penalty, but it means that we see the highest speeds that we see on the calendar, and the track is odd in that it has mostly slow speed corners for the most part attached to long straights and not a lot of downforce, and it's also very very flat with very little camber. So it's a bit odd. Can they make anything of this situation, or are they destined to go a bit backwards in your opinion?
Well, with McLaren, I think I mean, I don't know what the overall noise was really going into the USGP. I personally was expecting them to do better than what they did. I kind of got the vibe from them that they knew pretty early on that they were probably going to be the third fastest team, and that's kind of what it looked like, given the position where the cars finished. But McLaren just seemed to have an absolute worldy weekend in them, particularly in the hands of Lando Norris. They can just turn up and win by 20, 30 seconds. They did that with Singapore. They did that in the Netherlands as well. They did that in Hungary too. And those tracks are all downforce tracks, all tracks where it's tricky to overtake. But Mexico is such a unique situation where you have Monaco level wings, but Monza level downforce being generated due to the thin air. So trying to predict it is so difficult. But with Mercedes, I mean, that car just looked so unstable. You had Sir Lewis crashing out after 3 laps, whatever it was, and the only guy not to finish the race. It was an embarrassing moment. But I think more embarrassing for the team than him because the car clearly was not stable. George Russell had a horrible crash in qualifying, and that's why he started all the way down where he did. Started from the pit lane, actually, indeed. And there is pace in that car, though. He passed Theo Perez in the closing stages, didn't he? George Russell. That car had excellent pace. It could really, really run well on its tyres for a long time, similar to how he initially won the Belgian Grand Prix before being disqualified, obviously. But he did one less stop and it paid off for him. He ran the hard tyres for an extremely long time at Kota, and it really paid off for him. They're just going to hope to start further up the grid and be able to, challenge the likes of Sergio Perez and maybe even mix it up with perhaps Piastri if he's struggling a little bit, Carlos Sainz, somebody like that. Yeah, it's not looking too amazing for Mercedes right now. They had a real peak in the midpoint of the season, like I said before, that now they just seem to be kind of trundling along. Obviously, well clear of anybody in the midfield. Aston Martin are like 300 points behind or whatever. It's an absolutely huge gap. There's no way they're going to catch Ferrari in third. They just seem to be kind of coasting towards the end of the season, which I think is a bit sad, really, given that, Lewis Hamilton's having his last season at the team after 12 seasons in total. Nobody's driven more races for one team in Formula One than Lewis Hamilton has for Mercedes. So, unfortunately, I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong. I hope I am proven wrong, but it seemed like Mercedes are going to end this 2024 season on a bit of a damp squib, really.
Yeah, that is frustrating for a team that we know can do so well, but it seems that you know what, I'm of the opinion that they haven't got on top of these regulations as best they want to, and I don't think anything sort of meaningful is going to get done before 2026 generally. So I don't think we're going to see a lot out of them, and we know they can do it. Unfortunately, I think they've lost lot of people who were poached, and that just takes it a little bit away, and they made a misstep after 2021, and that seems to have sealed their fate.